Welcome back everybody to linuxacademy.com. My name is Terry, and in today's course we continue our preparation for the Linux Foundation Certified System Administration exam. We're in our Network File Systems and File Services section, and we're talking about providing and configuring network shares via NFS. Specifically, in this video, we're going to be talking about the client configuration. In our previous video, which if you haven't watched as of yet, we've configured and installed the NFS services and looked at the various options that we can export our file system and how to restrict access based on an IP range. So now that we've got the server done, and again, if we cat out our etc exports, we'll see what we've done in the last video, which was create our server share at home and var share. Our var share directory is only intended to be a read-only directory remotely, whereas the home one will maintain read-write access for appropriate users. So here on the client, what we're going to do is let's log out of our server. And now that we're on the client, we're going to install the appropriate utilities, create mounts, mount the file systems, test the file systems, and then look at how we add it so that it will mount the file system on reboot. So let's go ahead and look at, we'll become a root user. And the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we have yum install, and we have to install the same files and utilities as we have out on our server system. So if you haven't already done that, make sure that you do a yum install or an apt-get install of nfs-utils and nfs-utils-lib. In our case, those two packages are already installed, so we don't need to do anything there. But what we do need to do is we need to create some mount points. So let's go to our mnt directory, and we're going to make some directories. We'll just call it mount on NFS home, and we'll make a directory called NFS share. Make directory NFS share, and we'll remove the directory we inadvertently created called NSF share. So we've got these directories called NFS home and share, and we've got to be able to mount those file systems. So we can do that manually with the appropriate mount command. And mounting an NFS drive is actually very easy, and you don't have to, once you've got the utilities and the libraries installed, you don't have to pass the file system type in. You just do a mount, and then the IP address of the server, which in our case is 1.131, I believe. I will double check on my console here. It is. And then we're going to do colon, and then the name of the mount, which in this case is home. And then we're going to say mount it in mount NFS home. And now we're going to repeat that command, mount 192.168.1.131 colon / var share, and then mount NFS share. And now if I do a df-h, it should tell me that I have two file systems mounted from that IP address called home and var share. That's great. Now let's see if I can see any files there. So we're going to open up another terminal. We'll open up another terminal and we'll SSH over to that system, 131. And let's go over to var share. So sudo su, and we'll go over to var share. Now right now there's nothing in it, so let's do a echo hello test.txt. Now I haven't hit enter on this, so let's make sure if we go to mount NFS share, we currently don't see anything in that file system. Okay, let's clear. We'll go back over here. We'll complete our command, which will create the hello.txt on our server. And now we go back over to the NFS share. We should now see the cat test.txt, which will say hello. Now you'll notice that the permissions are read-write for root, read and read only. That was because this particular file system was intended, with the exception of root for obvious reasons, to be a read-only file system. So other than root, everybody else is only going to be able to read that file system only. Now, if I go to the home file system, I should see the tcox directory, which is only read, write, execute for tcox. So if we go down to NFS home, then we see that again, tcox is read, write, execute, but there's no other permissions for anyone else. So now that we have our file systems available to us, how do we make sure that they can mount on boot? Well, like any of our other file systems, we can add them to the FSTab file. So on our client, and we can go ahead and exit off of this server now. On our client system, we will edit the FSTab file with a vim on etc FSTab. And all we're going to do here is below this file system mount, we're going to create an NFS mount for those directories, 192.168.0.131. And unlike Samba is slightly different. We're going to do a colon. And just like in our mount command, exactly what we type. So let's do mount NFS home. It's an NFS file system. We don't need any credentials because it's controlled by the IP address, but we are going to say that we want to do read-write, we want it to synchronize, we want hard links to be maintained, and we want it to remount if the mount is lost. If you have any questions about the file system mounting options, I would recommend that you spend some time with the Linux Foundation Certified System Administration exam for FSTab entries. It goes into what those FSTab entries would look like and what each of them mean in a little bit more detail. And again, here we're going to do a mount on NFS, and then we're going to do mount NFS share, and it's not var NFS, it's var share. And we'll make sure that we create those same NFS. And in this case, all I'm going to do is read only sync hard. I don't have to worry about whether this is a read-write or read-only file system from within etc FSTab, because the file system export on the server will determine whether I have read or write access to it based on how the file system is exported. So in this case, the reason that this makes it convenient for us to mount these directories from within FSTab is also this. If I do a df-h, I see these are mounted. So let's do a umount on NFS home. Let's get out of that directory. Umount on NFS home, and a umount on NFS share. Now if I do a df-h, I see that those are no longer mounted. I can clear this. I can also now do, because they're entries that are added to FSTab, I can just do a mount -a. That will mount anything remote and local file system types from within the FSTab file will automatically be mounted. So again, if I do a umount on NFS home, because I've mentioned it before, I can also just execute the mount command on the directory, because it will read the FSTab file and try to determine if that is a known mount point from within the file systems tab. So that file, as long as it's defined and can look up the directory path, it will execute the mount based on what it's configured to mount from within the FSTab file. So now that we have our server set up, we have our client set up, and now these file systems will automatically mount if we reboot the client file system. They'll also automatically export as a result of the NFS service being enabled on the file server. That's all there is to provisioning file system mounts or exports in a client server environment for NFS. My name is Terry for Linux Academy.